Hi, I'm Jacqueline from Young Dragon Slayers, and these are 5 D&D creatures inspired by Irish mythology. There are whole books filled with wondrous monsters, difficult enemies, and interesting characters for use in Dungeons & Dragons games. These creatures come from all different places: fantasy tropes, popular stories, and, of course, the imagination of D&D creators. Many come from real-world mythologies, like Medusa from Greek mythology, the Sphinx from Egyptian mythology, or the frost giants from Norse mythology. But these popular mythologies aren't the only ones to make an appearance in the world of D&D. Irish mythology is filled with its own array of strange and wondrous tales, many of which got their own interpretation in the official lore of Dungeons & Dragons. Let's take a look. Number 1. Banshees. In Irish myth, a banshee is a spirit that takes the appearance of a young woman with long, pale hair and piercing eyes. When death is near, this spirit runs wildly and lets out terrible screams that can be heard on the mortal plane. In stories, people fear banshees as a harbinger of death. In the world of D&D, a banshee is also a female-presenting spirit, albeit that of an elf. Banshees are cursed to haunt the place where they died and be overtaken with hatred for the living. Anybody who sees a banshee risks being trapped by fear. Anybody who touches one is corrupted by the banshee's undead aura. D&D banshees, of course, have the shrieking power of their mythological counterparts. Once per day, they can let out a wail, which deals massive psychic damage if you're lucky, and reduces your hit points to 0 if you're not. Number 2, Fomorians. In Irish mythology, Fomori are evil supernatural giants who emerged from beneath the ground in the sea, bringing death and destruction to the people of Ireland and their holy protectors, the Tuatha Dé Danann. The Fomori and the Irish people fought back and forth for many years, until one final battle in which Fergus Leithderg led the Irish and Mork, son of Dela, led the Fomori. One story featuring the Fomori will probably sound familiar if you're a fan of Greek mythology. A prophecy foretold that the leader of the Fomorian, Baelor, would be killed by his grandson. Hearing of this, Baelor trapped his daughter, Athenu, in a glass tower to prevent her from having children. Cian of the Tuatha Dé Danann teamed up with the druid Birrig to break into the tower, and Athenu had triplets with Cian. Baelor killed 2 of them, but Birrig saved the 3rd, who was named Lug. Lug later led the Tuatha Dé Danann in a battle against Baelor, and Lug killed him with a well-placed slingshot strike that popped Baelor's eyes out of the back of his head. In D&D, Fomorians are similarly evil. They're a race that once sought to conquer the Feywild, but once their evil nature altered their bodies, they scattered to the Underdark. There, the Fomorians kept slaves for labor and food, and they decorate their dwellings with the bodies of those they have slain. Like the legendary Baelor, Fomorians have an evil eye which can deal psychic damage just by looking at you. The eye can also bestow a curse of magical deformity, much like those experienced by the Fomorians themselves. Those on the receiving end of this curse have significantly lower speed, strength, and dexterity as a result of the curse of the evil eye. If you'd like to feature a Fomorian in your D&D games, you should know that, as an evil race, Fomorians actually fall into one of many harmful and ableist stereotypes of disability in fiction. The fact that their disabilities are a direct result of their evil nature makes this even worse. Consider keeping the mechanical element, but reflavoring the deformed bodies aspect of the Fomorian's appearance. Can give them glowing eyes, a reddish aura, or a physical sign of their evil deeds, like a necklace made of their victim's teeth. The magical deformities of the curse of the evil eye. You can make spirits shouting evil things in the character's ears, make their feet become suddenly heavy, or have their mind overtaken by the desire to follow the Fomorian's evil ways. There are ways around this where you can keep the mechanical aspects without getting all of the gross stuff on top of that. 3. Dullahan. In Irish tales, the Dullahan is a headless evil spirit riding a black horse. They carry their head in one hand and a whip in the other. Their heads bear a mouth filled with sharp teeth and are cursed to an eternal rot. Their whips are formed from human spines and are used to snap out the eyes of the rider's victims. Some Dullahan upgrade from a horse to a full coach. Dullahan coaches are made entirely of bones, with 2 skulls as headlamps and a basin of blood to splash upon the unwary as an omen of death. In D&D, Dullahan are still headless horse riders, but they carry neither a whip nor their heads. In fact, in the world of D&D, Dullahan have lost their heads and have become obsessed with finding them and exacting revenge. They sling a necrotic battle axe and can summon fiery skulls which they catapult at their enemies. If you think you've bested Dullahan in combat, think again. A Upon reaching 0 hit points, they come back to life and summon 3 death heads: a gnashing head, an aberrant head, and a petrifying head. All 3 heads are under the Dullahan's control and have unique and terrifying bite attacks. When the heads have been summoned, the Dullahan can produce a horrifying wail from its neck stump, dealing psychic damage and restoring the Dullahan's health. 4. Changelings. In Irish folk tales, fairies were said to come into home through windows, kidnap human children, and replace them with changelings, supernatural beings who are magically altered to look like the kidnapped child. But these changelings didn't quite copy humans perfectly. They stayed the same size their whole life, and sometimes had distinctly unchildlike features, like beards. When left alone, changelings often leap up to dance, sing, and play instruments, usually the bagpipes, which tips off humans to their fairy nature. In D&D, changelings are the size of human adults and can alter themselves to look like any medium humanoid from an Aasimar to a Zerth. Unlike in the original stories, their forms are perfect and difficult to spot through non-magical means. Because of this, changelings often live out the lives of a whole cast of characters of their own creation. If you'd like to feature a changeling in your D&D games, you should know that changeling folklore likely came from real-life parents of children with developmental and intellectual disabilities. These parents, confused by a child who acted differently from them, may have explained this difference by claiming their child was replaced by a changeling, and sometimes doing pretty awful things to their kids as a result. Consider limiting changeling appearance in your games to teens and adults so as not to evoke this harmful history. Number 5. Isolde. In one epic tale, Isolde is an Irish princess who used her remarkable skills as a physician to tend to a wounded man named Tristan. When she found out that he was a Cornish knight and had just killed her uncle Morholt, Tristan ran away. He later defeated a dragon, and Isolde's parents, impressed by the deed, forgave him and granted him permission to escort Isolde to her betrothed. On the journey, the two of them drank a love potion, swiftly fell in love with each other, and ran away to embark on many adventures together. What these adventures entail depends on who's telling the story, so read a few and pick your favorite. In D&D, Isolde's adventures occur in the Feywild. An elven paladin, Isolde fought dragons, demons, and fiends alongside her many heroic companions. Zybilna, a Fey who had pacts with said fiends, had Isolde's companion slain, tricked Isolde into becoming friends with her, and erased her memory. Eventually, though, Isolde was able to escape and now runs a Fey carnival. She is a powerful magic user who wields Nepenthe, a sentient long sword who hungers for blood. The legendary sword also grants her and her companion strength against magic spells and deals radiant damage, true to the paladin class of its wielder. There are far more characters, creatures, and tales from Irish mythology than we could possibly list in one video. In addition to honorable mention creatures like the Bailor of the Evil Eye, Marrow, and the Man-Wolves of Ossory, there are playable options inspired by Irish lore, such as the Firbolg and the Druids. If you've ever been curious to play as one of these characters, explore an adventure inspired by your favorite mythology, or even just check out this fantastical world of Dungeons & Dragons, we invite you to join our games. We have professional dungeon masters, like me, who run awesome adventures for tweens and teens online, and we'd be happy to have you join us. If you'd rather write the adventure yourself, perhaps using elements like these creatures, we also have online and in-person programs when you can learn to run your own games. You can check them all out in the links below. Thanks for watching and enjoy the chaos.